You wouldn't steal a purse. You wouldn't buy a car. You wouldn't rent a tablet. Or would you? Because that's what I did. That's what this is here. That's what the video is about. Didn't you see the title? What's the service called? Let me see what it's called. Flowick. I got an ad for this service called Flowick, which will rent you a Remarkable, or in this case, a Supernote tablet for about $30 a month, give or take some. And I thought it would be an interesting thing to take a look at. Now, the main reason I'm interested in it is because I currently own this. This is a Kindle Scribe. I actually bought this pretty recently. And as soon as I bought it, they came out with this Kindle Scribe 2, which is very convenient. The writing experience on it is pretty good. It's nice for taking notes and stuff, but it has a few issues. And kind of the main issue in my mind is that if I want to view my notes remotely, let's say I'm looking at this picture of a deer and I say, oh, I need to check my notes. I can't do it. There's no way to. You can do it through an Android app, and you can also manually email yourself the notebook. And basically, if I wanted to have a backup of all of these, I would have to go through, manually export each one. And the other thing too is it's buggy. The Supernote is kind of the answer to that. The company seems to have a really cool approach to like their community and stuff. Not sponsored or anything, but earnestly, they seem to really take into account people's questions and requests. This subscription service is not from the Supernote company. It's a totally third-party company. A subscription service for a device is stupid. I know of a few companies who have tried this kind of thing before. Linus did a review of these sleep earbuds, and my boyfriend was like, you should get those. Those would probably help you. And since they're $300, I was like, no way. But they had a subscription service where you can rent them. Of course, these companies say you can rent it for as long as you like, but really in my mind, the idea here would be rent it for a month, see if you like it, actually use it, and then send it back and buy it yourself. But we're gonna take advantage of it today and see what happens. First thing that's kind of interesting, this came from Supernote directly. So it appears that the company who I'm renting this from just sent me a brand new one of these. One thing I'm pretty interested to hear about is Supernote's screen. You know, the Remarkable and the Kindle both have this screen that's supposed to like feel like paper because it has a coarse texture to the glass. But this is supposed to have a feeling like paper because you can kind of dig in with the stylus into the screen. I don't know what that means, but that's the way they described it, so. Build quality seems pretty nice. It's plastic. It's not as nice as the Kindle Scribe, but I was very concerned that it would kind of be really plasticky. The pen nib never wears out. That's a big thing. On the Kindle, it wears out constantly. Now, I think if I were to really buy this, I would probably buy the large one because I'm not sure if you noticed, but I have huge hands and it's kind of inconvenient to write on such a small device. Let's test out the handwriting experience for the first time. I was curious to experience what the screen feels like, and to be honest with you, I don't like it that much. It feels almost gummy to me. It's kind of weird. Maybe you can hear this. Compare that to... It's certainly interesting, but it's not really my thing. A dedicated erase button is really cool, and the standard pen here doesn't have it. But the standout stuff immediately is like the way they've designed this. So like, for example, organization is really important for a notebook like this. And you can see here, you can make headings, which is awesome. So you can just like jump to the page where the heading is. You can add keywords, which is good for searching. I mean, that's amazing. That's exactly what I'm looking for. One thing that I kind of miss about the Kindle, to be honest, is if you look really closely, you can see that it's kind of has a texture to it. And I like that. I know it's not like a big deal or anything, but it's kind of a nice little subtle touch that makes it feel like you're really writing on a piece of paper. And this here doesn't have it. It's just solid black. And as far as I can see, there's no way to change that. But otherwise, I mean, I'm pretty excited to test it out and kind of mess around with it. And then I guess we'll go over the return process. You know, I will say, subscriptions can have benefits. Without my car loan, I wouldn't be able to buy a car. Something like this is not like that, right? It's not rent to own. If it was rent to own and it was $100 extra or something, honestly, I could see some utility in that.
If you do it, you will face the consequences.
I'll talk about my experience with the subscription service in a moment here, but first we should talk about the Supernote. I was really excited about the Supernote. You can tell by my laughing it didn't go the way I was expecting it to. The company behind the Supernote, they've had this really interesting low battery. Oh my god, 20%, that's only a few days. This thing has some features that are really cool that some of the others don't have. It's really designed to not rely on the cloud for certain things. Like, you can totally keep it offline completely if you wanted to, and I think that's a very cool thing. Not that I would really need to do that myself, but more just the fact that if the company ever goes belly up, it's not the end of the world necessarily. I can't say the same thing about like my Bamboo 3D printer, right? Other thing too is this is an older version, but the newer ones are modular, and they're supposed to be very easily repairable. They have a web page where you can go to and you can see like the features they're working on, and you can suggest new features. And as I previously mentioned, the screen on this is a little bit different than like the Remarkable or the Amazon Scribe. The Amazon Scribe, for example, it kind of feels like if you got a really thin piece of paper and you put it on top of a pane of glass and you wrote on it. It definitely has kind of this paper texture, but it doesn't have the sensation of paper per se. It definitely feels different. Where this is supposed to emulate more of a notebook. Writing on a notebook, your pen kind of digs into the paper almost, because you can kind of push into the other layers of paper. And they designed this to feel like that. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. There are people who do like it, which is great. And if you're one of those people, then I would definitely recommend this. But it's kind of difficult because you're not going to be able to know until you try it. Hello. Oh, another cool thing I should mention is the pens. So this is their like basic pen, but you can actually put their stylus technology into, a Lamy pen. You could put it into this. Actually, I don't know if you could put it into this, but you can put it into different pens, and that's a really cool thing, especially if you're kind of a pen aficionado. But you have to enjoy writing on the screen, and I just don't. Do you know what it reminds me of? 2013, maybe? LG came out with a smartphone where the back of the phone, if it got scratched, it would self-heal. That's like a weird thing, but basically the plastic on the back was just really soft and almost gummy. And basically the coating on it would like fill in any scratches that happen over time. And this really reminds me of that. It's not like actually tacky. I don't like how it feels. It feels like... Do you know these things? This is... It helped a little. These are those little holders for like objects that are not a uniform size. You could put a coin, you could put a little trinket, a toy, whatever. I have a rock in here. It has this like plastic film on it. It almost reminds me of that. I mean, this is a little bit of an exaggeration just so you can understand. It doesn't feel like you're writing on a pane of glass. It truly doesn't. It feels soft. That kind of worries me, It feels like I'm like bending the e-ink screen into the unit, which is not a good thing. If Supernote came out with like the larger version of this with like basically an iPad paper texture screen protector on it, so it just felt like it was glass, I would be all over it, honestly. So my use of this was definitely not like a conclusive test, but I did figure out it's not for me. But now what we all been waiting for, the return process. So I'm going to send this back to the subscription company. I saved everything, literally everything. I'm going to package it back up and I'm going to send it back to the company. And we're going to see how the process goes. Hello, it's been a little while. So real briefly, I just wanted to summarize my whole experience with that and tell you what I ended up going with instead. So in terms of the subscription service, obviously it would be pretty stupid to just like rent that indefinitely. The fact they market it like that instead of just like, oh, try it before you buy it, it doesn't sit great with me. I packed everything up, I returned it, and I had no issues. They ended stuff immediately. They didn't complain a bunch or anything. And then what I ended up going with is an iPad. So you can see here, this is an iPad Air. This is the 4th generation with the 2nd generation Apple Pencil. I've just recently gotten into the Apple ecosystem a little bit with my Mac Pro here, and I decided to go with the iPad just because the price range compared to the Remarkable or any of those e-ink tablets are kind of similar. I think all in for this, it was like around $350 or maybe around $400. Honestly, I'd rather have a full-on device that can do all kinds of different things. Of course, the writing experience is not as good. There's no getting around it, but I think it's pretty good once you get a textured screen protector. And you kind of get used to writing on it, and obviously it's multicolor. And I decided to go with this specific model because it was the cheapest, or I should say most affordable model that has the USB-C charging port, and it supports a pressure sensitive wireless charging Apple Pencil. No lightning ports or anything on this. If you're willing to settle for one with a lightning port, you can get stuff for even cheaper. I think that's kind of the way to go. This came with the official Apple keyboard. And honestly, it feels really weird to type on, but it's a nice thing to have. And it's definitely good enough for writing a few emails here and there and stuff. And then you also have the benefit of using it with Sidecar for the Mac. So honestly, I'm really pleased with it. More videos all over the place on this channel, so stick around for that. And if you like cameras, look at my main channel.